dumb decisions. I love you no matter what. But you have to understand that you have to think of the now and see what happens in the future. The mom's a totally different story. She wants to lock them in the closet, throw holy water on them, and all kinds of craziness. I said that's not going to happen either. That's not what it works.
Right.
2015.
Well, I had noticed that you're also starting to do some stand-up routines, and that's kind of always been. I kind of think that that's like every guy, like, I don't know, maybe it's not, but I always had this feeling, like, I always grew up and always thought it would be a cool idea to do. So me and Joe, we got the ball sack up to go out and do a little open mic, little 5-minute set, and mine went absolutely horrible. Like, have you done any more stand up? Because I've noticed that you've been getting more and more into doing stand up comedy. Is that kind of like part of your therapy, part of what you like to do?
I had to take a break, honestly, because at that time I was going up mad. I was going up nervous. I was so insecure that I would look at everybody in the crowd, and if they didn't laugh, I felt like they hated me and wanted me to die.
Okay.
So it was something where it was an outer instead of an inner type of situation. So right now here in Phoenix, Arizona, the comedy scene, as far as the local scene, is very hot, and it's very competitive. Now, I'm not making excuses. I feel, to me, looking at it, it's more of a hobby than a career choice for me.
Sure.
Because I feel like people could grind it out for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and maybe they get a break. But in that time, you're spending money on liquor, gas, but you're making an investment that hopefully could pay out. But if you could name, and Joe Rogan puts it best, you could only name maybe 20 great comedians out of how many in the United States alone? And I'm like, ugh,
yeah,
pretty true.
Yeah, the odds are. Joe Rogan, you brought him up. Like, he's got to be my hands down favorite comic. Bill Burr is very close to him. I've seen both of them live. Like, who is your? I try and obviously, like with anything else, like you try and kind of mimic the people that you look up to and stuff. Like, who do you find yourself most closely relating to as far as stand up comedy goes?
I would say hands down Joey Diaz.
Okay.
And Bill Burr. One of my favorite idols, and I wish I would have seen him before he passed away, was Bernie Mac, just because he was so real.
Yeah.
And number 4, I think, and I want to get to this level of cleverness, would be George Carlin.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you could see if you could see anybody right now, free ticket, front row, who are you taking?
Oh, absolutely Bill Burr. That's the only one I haven't seen yet, and I mean, I'm taking me, and I'm going to take Kylie Jenner when she turns 18 in a couple of days, and I'm going to call it a day. I know how you feel about the Kardashians. We're going to agree to disagree on that one, but that's okay.
Well, I didn't you think it was a little fucked up that his ex-wife didn't show up, for the Arthur Ashe Award?
I think it was about him. So it could be maybe the way I see it, I feel like she's okay with it, but I think she's a little weirded out about everything else after the fact.
Sure.
So I think that she didn't want to show up because she might have said something that she might regret, because she doesn't really have a filter. She really has to check herself before she speaks. So I've noticed with her interviews, if they ask her a tough question, she will have that 3-second pause of, oh, okay, don't say this, I need to say this. So I think that's why she wasn't there. That's my opinion, at least.
Okay, fair enough. Seems like you and Joe agree on a lot of things, and you and I, we might differ from here to there. Guys, joined again by Vinny No Filter, his podcast. I know that we got pretty serious, Vinny. Like, that's not exactly how I always imagined it going, but your podcast is hilarious. This guy he will review movies. He will tell you exactly what he thinks about everything, and when he says no filter, he means it. You can find What's Wrong with This Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher. Where else can people get your show?
Oh yeah, just the top 2 mega heads, which is iTunes and Stitcher. You can, whether you have an Android, you can download the Stitcher app and it's free and download from there. Or if you're on the crappy Apple system, then you can download the podcast section there, and then I'm on there.
No, you didn't. The crappy Apple system?
Oh. Yeah, absolutely. I know you are with Apple. I had to throw some jazz in there.
No, man. No, you're not. You're just trying to get under my skin. You don't truly believe that.
No, no, absolutely. I will take a selfie with my Samsung phone, and I will send it to you. The best quality phone ever. It comes with a pen. You can write cunt on a meme, and then send it to somebody. It's beautiful.
Oh my God! All right. Well, Vinny No Filter, thank you, Vinny. Thank you for being on the show. We got to do this more often because, like, to anybody who hasn't listened to the show, like Vinny is a very authentic guy. I know that no filter means that he doesn't watch what he says, but the authenticity of him comes across. It's genuine and it's honest, and you can't blame anybody for being that. Vinny, thank you for joining me on the show today, man.
Oh, hey, no problem, and I'll definitely have you on at least by next week because I know you got some stuff going on, and I'll have you on my show. And people that are listening and want to check out my show, I appreciate it, but please come with an open mind. And at the end, just agree to disagree. That's what we need to do around here, around these places. Because it looks like all it takes is for one opinion that somebody doesn't agree with, and it's a totally like, oh, fuck that guy or fuck that girl. And I'm like, wait a minute, you agree 9 out of 10 times with that person. All of a sudden, you agree with one topic. Now you don't like them. Very sensitive out there.
I agree. People are way overly sensitive. So if you're one of those types, just kind of check it at the door when you listen to Vinny's show. And I'd be happy to be on your show, man. And we will talk soon. Right now, thanks again, Vinny, for being on, man.
Hey, you guys have a beautiful day.
But before we do go to break, we want you guys to listen to the new single, No Moss, by The Great Grief. The Great Grief is one of the most innovative and groundbreaking new acts on the Scandinavian music scene. So these guys are brand new. You can hear echoes from a mix of genres and references spanning from At the Drive-In, Suicide, Fireside, New Order, Sugar Rios, Ministry, Mogwai. I mean, the list goes on and on. They're just a really cool band. The Swedish band called the music gang rock. So I guess that would be one way to kind of look at it. One thing is for sure that you have not heard this before, and you will not be bored. Let's check it out during the break. And you can find them on Facebook, Spotify, Deezer, iTunes, YouTube. I mean, thegreatgrief.com. You can go to Facebook. You can also call them at 467-072-88428. And it's a great song. So let's check it out. We'll be right back. Thank you guys for listening to The Bill and Joe Show. And welcome back to the Bill and Joe Show. That was our buddy Vinny, and we had a little talk during the break about people's tolerance, man. I think that a lot of it comes from, or their intolerance, I guess I should say. I think that a lot of people's intolerance comes from thinking that you're somebody really, really cool because you have a Twitter account. Vinny told me of several occasions where he said something that was offensive, to somebody, and they wrote him and threatened him, and we've had our fair shares on this show. It's and I don't take too much. I mean, if you Vinny brought up an interesting point. Like if we can't be bringing up our kids to be soft, or let's have a campaign to quit bullying. No, I mean our kids need to have tough skin. That's unfortunately the world that we do live in. Is that a computer screen and a keyboard give you the ability to say whatever you want to say, no matter how mean it is. And you can say it directly to that person. Now, I don't know what it's like being Leonardo DiCaprio, but I would imagine that his Twitter account is full of "you're a faggot, fuck you." Like, I mean, even personalities on ESPN talk about how they've got to, ignore all the hate and everything, and that's just what you have to do. I mean, anybody who's going to be offended by my opinion on Caitlyn Jenner is just you're dumb. You're dumb. It's like it's dumb as people that get offended by jokes. I mean, it's just my opinion. I'm sure that I disagree with something that you might think, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to blow you up and wish horrible things upon you and your family, like on social media. So it was something that we were talking about, and I do want to weigh in on it. That and Joe and Emma, I'll ask them next week what their thoughts on it are. But I just think that it's really just the bottom line is a computer screen and a keyboard. It just gives you so much strength, false strength, but strength. Because I was around when the first quote unquote chat room was invented. They were called BBS boards, bulletin board system or something. And people would come on then. I mean, it was the first thing that people would do is just talk shit with one another. I made a lot of good friends on those boards by all the good shit that we talked to each other, and it's kind of evolved into this social media sort of hate speech. But so if any of you have a problem with Vinny's show, just turn it off. If any of you have a problem with my show, just turn it off. It's not that hard. It's like people that watch a movie and then complain about, just leave. Or a television show like First Take on ESPN, they get so much hate. Just don't watch it then. It's very, very simple. If you don't, there's just way too much hate and anger in the world. But I mean, it's always been there. It will always be there. So you just got to do your best to just let the stuff that bothers you bother you for a little bit, and then just move on. So I do want to thank Vinny for being on the show tonight. Great podcast, Vinny No Filter. What's wrong with this podcast? You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher. He is in the midst of getting back on track and coming out with a new episode. Hopefully, I'll be able to be on there. I'd love to talk to Vinny again. And thank you guys for listening to the show today. And I'm not going to bore you anymore with myself. So you guys have a good day, and we will see you next week. Thanks again. And don't forget to check our friend out, TomSlayton.com, SLATIN.com, for all of your design needs. Fantastic guy. Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.